Why would the Department of Justice publicly expose the names of child trafficking survivors, but black out the names of the billionaires who abused them? It wasn't an accident. It was a message. And in this video, I'm going to expose the pattern that explains exactly why this happens and the one uncomfortable solution we need to accept if we ever want it to stop. Welcome to Arise and Shine podcast. I'm Sharri Burggraaf, an overcomer of extreme abuse and childhood trafficking, and advocate for survivors of trauma and trafficking. This week, Wednesday, February 11th, I watched a congressional hearing that gutted me. Representatives were given the opportunity to address Attorney General Pamela Bondi from the Department of Justice, all while survivors who had been trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein were there. And I was appalled.
We are joined in this room by some of the thousands of survivors from Jeffrey Epstein's horrific sex trafficking ring. They have shown such incredible courage in speaking out, in demanding accountability to bring the predators and pedophiles to justice. To the survivors in the room, if you are willing, please stand. And if you are willing, please raise your hands if you have still not been able to meet with this Department of Justice. Please know for the record that every single survivor has raised their hand. Attorney General Bondi, you apologized to the survivors in your opening statement for what they went through at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein. Will you turn to them now and apologize for what your Department of Justice has put them through with the absolutely unacceptable release of the Epstein files and their information?
Congresswoman, you sat before Merrick Garland sat in this chair twice.
Attorney General Bondi,
No, can I finish my answer?
No, I'm going to reclaim my time because I asked you a specific question that I would like you to answer, which is, will you turn to the survivors? This is not about anybody that came before you. It is about you taking responsibility for your Department of Justice and the harm that it has done to the survivors who are standing right behind you and are waiting for you to turn to them and apologize for what your Department of Justice has done.
Members get to ask the questions, the witness gets to answer in the way they want to answer. The Attorney General can
That's
respond.
not accurate, Mr. Chairman.
Because she doesn't like the answer.
They were formally ignored, unaddressed. I was shocked. Not because I learned something new about how the world works. I already know the pain they carry, and I work with survivors of extreme organized abuse every single day. I know what institutional betrayal looks like, but watching it all play out on a national stage with the Attorney General of the United States dismissing survivors to their faces, that hit different. Let's take a look at how she responded.
So,
Mr. Chairman,
why
I have asked
didn't she ask Merrick Garland this twice?
I am reclaiming my time, and when I reclaim my time, it is
Mr. Chairman, the gentlelady has reclaimed her
I'm not going
time.
to get in the gutter for her theatrics.
The time belongs to the gentlelady. The gentlelady has 17 seconds.
Thank you.
Or better yet, I should say how she didn't respond to them. Representative Pamela Bondi asked the Epstein survivors to stand, like you saw, if they had been denied a meeting with the Department of Justice. Every single survivor that was there, their hands went up. And when asked to simply turn around and acknowledge them and apologize to them, on behalf of the Department of Justice. She didn't. Attorney General Pamela Bondi refused to answer the question. She called their pain theatrics. She said she would not get in the gutter. Maybe she meant with the representative and the congressional hearing, but the message was clear to those survivors and to me that she was not willing to get in the gutter with them. Instead of answering why she was failing the women in the room. I have seen that look before. I've seen it in the eyes of the people I hear that talk to me. I believe them. I don't call them liars. I don't deflect it back onto them. The venue changes, but the pattern never does. The Epstein Files Transparency Act was supposed to be a victory, but what actually happened was a masterclass in protecting the powerful. On January 30th, the Department of Justice released over 3 million pages. A Wall Street Journal review found that they exposed at least 43 victims' full names, including 24 who were minors. The problem is they were told to redact the names to protect the survivors.
The Epstein Files Transparency Act required your Department of Justice to disclose the perpetrators connected with Epstein's criminal activities and to redact the information of survivors to protect their identities. Let me show you what actually happened. First, in violation of the law, your department has shown a pattern of redacting the names of powerful predators. Here behind me is one example of an email from Epstein to a man whose name was redacted. The email reads, quote, "Where are you? Are you okay? I loved the torture video." Only after members of Congress demanded that we see the unredacted files did the world learn the name of this individual, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, the chairman and CEO of a company that had financial ties to President Trump's business and personal ties to Trump's advisor, Steve Bannon. Second, the survivors were not similarly protected, also in violation of the law. Here is another email titled Epstein Victim List. We have blurred the names of the survivors for their protection, but your Department of Justice initially released this list of 32 survivors' names with only one name redacted, along with numerous files that disclose not only the names, the emails, and the addresses of survivors, but also nude photographs and even the identities of Jane Does who had been protected for decades until your department released their names. Survivors are now telling us that their families are finding out for the first time that they were trafficked by Epstein. In their words, quote, "This release does not provide closure. It feels like a deliberate attempt to intimidate survivors, punish those who came forward, and reinforce the same culture of secrecy that allowed Epstein's crimes to continue for decades."
Attorneys provided the Department of Justice with a list of victims to redact. The Department of Justice failed to even do a basic keyword search. But the co-conspirators, the recruiters, the abusers, blacked out. Attorneys representing 200 victims have called this the single most egregious violation of victim privacy in the history of the United States. One of the representatives showed footage of a video of Epstein and Trump at a party hanging out together.
I want to discuss another man, Donald Trump, who is all over the Epstein files. Like former Prince. Here's a video. Like former Prince Andrew, Donald Trump attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know, were there any underage girls at that party or at any party that Trump attended with Jeffrey Epstein?
This is so ridiculous, and that they are trying to deflect from all the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency. He's the one that asked that those files
I'm reclaiming my time.
be
I got your
released.
answer. You said there's no
President
evidence.
Trump asked
Mr. Chairman,
that
please stop the
he
clock.
sign
Stop the clock.
the legislation.
Time-
This is
Time,
this
I'd like
is
to reclaim my
ridiculous.
time.
belongs to the gentleman from California.
Okay.
And the Epstein files contain numerous times, hundreds of times, where Donald Trump is implicated in engaging in criminal activities.
I'm going to put up another document from a witness who called the FBI's National Threat Operations Center because I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a
I
crime.
believe you just lied under oath, and this is all on videotape. You said there's no evidence of a crime. I'm showing you, here is a witness statement who called into the FBI's Threat Operations Center. He drove Donald Trump around in a limo. He overheard what Donald Trump said to Jeffrey on his cell phone. He was so angry, he was going to stop the limo and hurt Donald Trump. And he met a girl who said she was raped by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. She later had her head blown off, and officers at the scene said that could not have been suicide. No one at the Department of Justice interviewed this witness. You need to interview this witness immediately. Epstein should rot in hell, so should the men who patronized his operation. And as we sit here today, there are over 1,000 sex trafficking victims, and you have not held a single man accountable. Shame on you. If you had any decency, you would resign right after this hearing concludes.
The gentleman has
I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I am a researcher of organized abuse. I have lived experience after getting out of trafficking. Looking at the verified connections here, I see the same pattern. The relationship between Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein is extensively documented. Trump is in Epstein's contact book. He flew on the jets 7 times. In 2002, Trump called Epstein a terrific guy who likes women on the younger side. In a 2011 email, Epstein said a victim spent hours at his house with Trump. In 2019, he allegedly wrote that Trump knew about the girls and asked Ghislaine Maxwell to stop. If that is true, it means Trump knew children were being trafficked, and his response wasn't to call the police, but to ask a co-conspirator to just stop. Remind you of anyone?
Stop. That's it. That's all I have to say. Stop.
Why has this administration fought so hard to control what gets released? Why does the president call every one of the 25 women who have accused him of misconduct a liar? When you have over 1,000 identified victims, millions, and I want to repeat that, millions of pages of evidence, and only one conviction, Ghislaine Maxwell, you are looking at corruption at its finest. You are looking at evil. People are silenced for talking. Let's take a look at a clip of Charlie Kirk speaking on September 8th, 2025.
We know for a fact that Charlie wanted the Epstein files to be released in full. In fact, on September 8th, 2025, he called on the Department of Justice to immediately move to unseal all the Epstein files. And 2 days later, he was assassinated. Now, Erica keeps saying she wants to continue Charlie's mission. So why is she staying silent on the Epstein files? This is one thing that her husband cared deeply about, and he kept drawing attention to the Epstein case until his last day. Every normal person wants every perpetrator and accomplice exposed and brought to justice, but not Erica Kirk. So if nothing is by coincidence, as Erica said, what's the real reason she won't even mention the Epstein files in public?
The stakes for exposing this are lethal. According to this clip that you just saw from September 8th, Charlie Kirk publicly called on the Department of Justice to unseal every file with no redactions. He was asking questions that made powerful people uncomfortable. 2 days later, on September 10th, Charlie Kirk was assassinated. I don't claim to know the full truth of that tragedy, but I do know that the same pattern that we are being told by the FBI and the people involved with Erica Kirk and Turning Point USA, I know this. A man demanding transparency on the largest trafficking case in history was silenced permanently. And the events that have occurred after Charlie's death have been much too connected with trafficking. Connections with the president, beauty pageants, Margot logo, fundraising, whether it's real estate, charity fronts, or political power, the connections are a web. And in my world, silence in the face of children being harmed and trafficked is never neutral. I do not speak because it is safe, but silence protects the predators. Silence is what they do to people that talk, but speaking out protects children. In 2019, God called me to speak out for those who can't speak for themselves yet. And like Ephesians 5:11 says, we are instructed to not have anything to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather to expose them. I want to acknowledge the bravery of the survivors who have spoken out to tell someone about what Epstein did to them. It takes monumental courage to say, this is what was done to me. These brave women shared their horrific stories over and over again, and when they needed justice the most, the Department of Justice did a grave injustice to them. Pamela Bondi couldn't even apologize for exposing their names or for failing to protect them. I'm going to show some of the survivors who have come out. I want to acknowledge them. I think we should honor them. They are the heroes. It takes incredible courage to speak up and break the silence. Let's take a moment of silence to honor them. As you watch them, some of them have pictures of the age that they were when the trafficking started. This is a heart-wrenching moment. But if we turn away, we are being complicit. These were children. To every one of the thousands of survivors of trafficking watching this, we acknowledge you. We stand with you. In a world where we become criminals for speaking out, it is a tragedy that you were trafficked. It is a travesty that you were failed by the same system that's put in place to protect you. We will not let you be forgotten or erased. I will continue to expose the evil deeds being done to our children, and I will continue to advocate for survivors until they can speak out for themselves. And I say no to those who use power and money to cover up crimes. Protecting children may cost us our comfort, our reputation, and our convenience. But losing our humanity, our future in the children, that will cost them everything. The children who are being trafficked, the survivors that are needing to be believed, they are who I do this for. There is hope, but there is a time we need to arise and shine. This has been Sharri with Arise and Shine podcast. God bless you.
You're not going to answer this question, so let me just
Chairman,
say
I'll
this.
direct it to
What a
you.
massive
No, I'm
cover-up.
answering a question.
Chairman, will you restore her time? The witness
I'm
is
not gonna get in
interrupted.
the gutter with this woman.
Stop the
She's
time
doing
and
theatrics.
let me have my time.
The gentlelady from Washington controls the time. The gentlelady has 17 seconds. You can proceed with your final
Thank you.
17 seconds.
What a massive cover-up this has been and continues to be. Donald Trump made the release of the Epstein files the center of his political campaign because he thought it would benefit him. Then you got into office, Attorney General, claimed to have a client list, only
Regular
to
order.
then say that there was no list. Your deputy, Todd Blanche, met alone with Elaine Maxwell and transferred her to a minimum security prison. And now you continue the cover-up. And I wish that you would turn around to the survivors who are standing right behind you and on a human level,
Chairman,
apologize.
Chair now recognizes the